Mari Burrell says she had to grow up fast in New York. She was physically and verbally abused as a child, bounced around and adopted twice in her life, but God doesn't miss a thing. He surely hadn't forgotten about a little girl with wild curly hair that had been told she would never be pretty enough.
This woman is my hero. She's the embodiment of what a Wonder Woman really looks like, in my opinion. Her life today is restored, happily married with a beautiful daughter, living her dreams, singing and ministering on stage, and rocking her fashion sense. Mari Burrell is fearless.
I was literally adopted and adopted twice. My family, I grew up being physically and emotionally and spiritually abused in just different circumstances. But starting out when I was young, I was physically abused, like to the point where I was put into a hospital bed. And if I said anything, when I got home, I'd be beaten more. And every time they'd go back, I was too scared to say anything because I was just young and I knew that I would have to take another beating for it. So I just kept it and held it inside. And one day when I was 9 years old, these two men came into the project where I lived, and they were like, God's going to take you from this, and he's going to be with you your whole life. Each step that you take along the way, someone like us is going to come into your path and tell you what's the next step you're going to take. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but he's going to be with you. And exactly like those men told me, he was with me along the way. So it was really amazing because even during my illness that we just mentioned, a man came up to me in the airport and told me, you're not dying, you're okay. I'm one of the ones that God told me to send to you to let you know. In the middle of the airport, complete stranger. Yeah, he grabbed my hands and he prayed for me and he said, your body's just detoxing. You're going to be okay. God, what he told you as a little girl is still going to come to pass and you're going to sing all over the world for his glory. And he literally prayed for me. Everyone was staring, and I didn't even care. I wasn't embarrassed. So he walked away, and I never saw him again. So God is real. Yeah. In my song Treasure, it's funny. He gave me those words before I actually went through this. And that's how you know he's just such a loving God and he's such a good father. Because I remember thinking, oh man, I'm in ruin. My life is horrible. I don't know where I'm going. And I kind of just buried my dreams. And he gave me that song and that tune. And I remember thinking, I went and told somebody, I was so excited about it. And they're like, oh, it's okay. And meanwhile, it became a title track to my album and then my life story. Because a few months later when this happened, and he had given me the song called Alive as well. So I'm writing about being alive. Meanwhile, I'm dying. And it was God's way of showing me before this was going to happen, I was in it. I gave you the lyrics, I gave you the words and the melodies so that when it did happen, you'd remember that you were going to make it through. But I started singing at 9. I remember the night before that I actually went down to play on the piano. I was sitting in a couch, it was like a love seat, and I was staring out the window. And I remember just all of a sudden this immense fear came over me of like dying and going to hell. And this was the night before I actually met with those men and before I actually played the piano for the first time in my life. And I remember then feeling a peace come over me as well. Meanwhile, I'm 9 years old, but I had to grow up young because of my situation. So I was really 9 going on 30. And I remember just saying, Jesus, I don't know if this is you, but if it is, please confirm to me because I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't even want to live. I don't want to take another beating, and I don't think that I can handle it. And God is so merciful that very next day they came in and then I played the piano for the first time. And I remember sitting down and my hands touched the keys and I just began to weep. I started to cry and I didn't know that I was just worshiping, but I was worshiping. And my grandfather started out the same way and he told me, that's God, you're worshiping, you're going to play. And I just started to play by ear, and every day I would be at that piano just crying and just growing and starting to get to know him and starting to know who I was in me. Little did I know I had a really long way ahead of me, but that's when everything began. Even through the adoption and starting to get into my actual adoptive family and starting to grow with them, I was really Joseph the Dreamer, and I would be the one that's like, when we would go to, my mom would take us to festivals and to like something like Kingdom Bound, and we'd see all the other artists and everything, and I'd be like, I'm going to be up on that stage one day. That's going to be me. And, everyone would be like, haha, that's so funny and stuff, and I would pretend like I was an artist and all that, and I would be the one that's jammed out in the mirror and be like, you're amazing, you're awesome, and start singing and preaching to people just in the mirror themselves. Like, I would always see myself there, because in Habakkuk 2:2 it says to write the vision and to make it plain, and though it tarry, wait for it. So I would literally live that out. I would be like confessing and always prophesying and saying what I wanted to see God to do in my life. And so as of I don't know, maybe 12 or 13, I just knew for a fact that that was what I was going to do. I believe that the things that he needed to finally change in me and to grow, and honestly, I think it was through the illness. I thought it was the worst moment of my life, and now I wouldn't change a thing. Every single day, I remember calling my manager, my close friends, and being like, I think this is it, guys. You guys keep on telling me I'm okay. You keep on saying I would go to church and get prayed for. And they're like, nope, you're okay. We feel in our hearts you're okay. And I kind of knew deep down I was, but I honestly even had a dream that I saw my husband and my daughter looking at my coffin and crying over me. I mean, I don't. And when you're the one that, in that actual moment, you can't help but doubt. We're human. I'm human too. So I encourage anyone that even if you feel like you're going through that, it's okay if you're doubting, but just remember that God's going to help you get through that. You know, it's so much easier said than done. But things started to happen literally after that illness, after I started to take care of myself physically and really spiritually, and to really believe God and remember and know who and why I'm here for. Because I've had many offers, especially in the secular industry, and that was the easy way out. But I knew that even though I wasn't going to be in the four walls just a worship leader 7 days a week like I was, that God had something else for me and that I needed to be prepared for it. And that was his way of preparing me for it.